I remember bringing that up,
Yeah.
and, and my parents are like, yeah, people are like that, it wasn't like they were going to storm off to the school, but I just wanted to get away from him.
Yeah.
So it forced me to volunteer to be the manager for, like the track team and the cross country team, and just to get away from him. And that turned out to be a great experience because I traveled with the team and got to do things and all of that.
And I mean, that's freaking awesome. But isn't it interesting how we're forced to be ingenuitive? Like we adapt.
Well, and that's what happens. And I'm sure you'll attest to this. It starts at birth, I guess, at least when you get the disability, then you are constantly having to solve problems like that, physical or otherwise. And so you get real quick at solving problems.
When the universal assignment is handed out, adaption is also a skill that has been passed. Yeah, because I mean, generally, even if you think about it, like as people, we innately try to make people feel more comfortable. At least I can speak for myself, and I feel like that's you because just how warm and friendly you are is that generally we're going to make people feel that it's okay, even if it isn't okay.
Absolutely.
We're good at that.
And then getting back to, work, we're
back to work.
Got that work period. But when I got to work, then, I certainly wasn't going to let anybody know that I didn't deserve to be here.
For sure.
Yeah. So
or this is hard.
And then adaptation comes in again. They hand you things to do, and they don't tell you how you're going to do it. They just
for sure,
like any other employee, this is what we need done. So, I don't say, oh, I can't do that. I'm going to figure it out one way or the other.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think that the goal is to be so seamless in the adaptation you create for yourself that nobody realizes you've adapted it.
Yeah. And I know there's going to be people listening to this that's old school, and that was the world that I grew up in. Now, of course, there's a whole community, there's a movement, there's there's people that fight for our rights and to have accommodations, ADA now, all of those things, and so I'm a little sad that maybe that they're missing that experience of having to fight for those things a little bit.
I guess
more.
In a larger way, right? But I think that it's still insidiously quiet there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's just not like, I don't know. I think you have to live the experience to understand the experience, because I feel like even if the ADA or whatever made like certain, let's say they made some adaptions, right? But there's still like silent things that we wouldn't talk about that's still an adaptation. So maybe the bigger blocks are out of the way, but the small blocks that just seem insignificant or like unworthy of a change are still there for people, which force them to be resilient or to be enterprising, kind of like we're talking about, entrepreneurship or whatever, because we have to make a way.
Well,
and so we do.
And believe me, I don't discount that everybody is different. And
certainly.
You know what I mean? And because I was at a certain place in my disability that maybe it was even easier for me to overcome some of those blocks. Yeah. And other people it's not, but they still deserve to have a place.
100%.
Yeah. It's not lost on me, just, before the angry cards and letters start coming in.
Right.
Yeah.
No, but I think that's what's fascinating too. Even if you look at like social media now, like other options for work have widened the things that people can do and be monetized for.
Yeah.
And I think in that as well is doing a great job of like showing people other things that were sort of hidden as a way of life, adaptation. I love the triumph stories that we're hearing, even interviewing people here. And it's so cool that the internet has kind of given, somebody like Kara more of a platform to reach out and share her message. So it's not as far as her car can take her or as far as the phone will call or whatever. The internet is a wide place and you never know who needs to hear it and why.
Yeah. Well, and it really evens the playing field to a large degree. Now you are what you are on paper on the internet. They'll never see you, and they don't really particularly care one way or the other, as long as you're getting the work done, right?
Yes,
and you're judged on that, whether you're getting the work done.
Yeah, merit. It's much more merit-based.
Yeah. So,
although I do like the peekaboo when you show up and are different than they ever thought, because I've had that experience. Even in the job I have now, when we went to our our yearly thing, and I had never been to the yearly thing yet. People did not know that I used a chair or my walker, and people are like, "Oh my God, what happened?" I'm like, "Well, it was a long, long time ago." But I mean, it's entertaining to me now because it's been so long. But it's still fascinating.
That happened to me, and I felt so bad for this gal. But in that transition that I talk about, with the wheelchair, years ago, when I got the wheelchair, I still walked primarily. And I would use the wheelchair for, long trips, go to an amusement park, things like that. Yes. Well, we live here next to one of the NASCAR tracks. And so I would go out there every year. And it's huge. It's 300 acres, 2-mile track. So to get around it, I would use my wheelchair.
Yeah.
So, race after race after year, there was these same gals that worked with the catering service. So, so being in media, I could go into the media area, and me and my buddy, we'd have lunch, and, they would serve breakfast, sometimes dinner, and I'd be there all the time. Well, I went to an off race weekend track event one time. Some media event, and I went, and you could park right there next to the garage. You could park in the garage. So I didn't get in the wheelchair. I just walked in. And this gal, God, I could still hear her voice. God bless her. She's like, "Oh, look at you. You're doing so good." And I'm like, "Oh, no, this is what I do all the time. I'm just in the chair."
Yeah.
That's the only thing she had, her point of reference. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm good. This is. She's like, "Oh, I'm sorry."
Hey.
Yeah, it is what it is.
She's doing her best. But I mean, it's fascinating because, I mean, even though you and I are like much more adapted to disabilities, like other preconceived notions we have about other stuff, right? So like we're all victim to that kind of thought process.
Like whatever. You alluded to as you listen to this show, and you hear the triumphs and the challenges, and I'm finding that I had preconceived notions about some of the disabilities, some of the experience that I thought people might have in the stories that we've told, and finding out it's not like that, or it's, it's different. It's so different between each person with a similarly same injury or outcome. Yeah. Yeah. So.
I think I've loved listening to that, or even like, when does their mind shift, or does it shift at all? Or was this who they, like, it's just the essence of human spirit is so interesting to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you and I, and we grew up with it, right? So
I don't know any different.
Yeah. There wasn't that before after dynamic. And so it definitely is different. So I really admire, if I can use that word, those folks that have gone through that.
Oh, for sure.
Because I feel like the physical part, you heal, you have surgeries.
Yeah, it is what it is. Yeah.
But the mind, that's to overcome that major change in your life. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. Kudos. I mean, everybody we've talked to, I am like, oh my goodness. Like I find myself saying like, they're so mentally strong because I don't know if I could do that, which is funny because you feel weird sometimes when people say you're triumphant for just living your life with a disability. And then here I am like now sitting in this seat and I'm like, oh my God, if that happened to me, I don't know if I could do it. So bravo for life lessons all the way.
And I know there's a segment of our community that bristles at that when somebody says, you're an inspiration,
Oh yeah.
And sure. I get it, because you're just, you and I'm sure most people that have a disability, I didn't set out to be an inspiration. I'm just living my life one day at a time the best I can. I have the same hopes and dreams and setbacks and aspirations.
If I save up enough of those laudings, do I get to like suddenly learn how to drive? That's the only reason I would like those. Is do I get points? Is this like tickets? But yeah, totally.